Hello, and thank you for coming to the McWaters Effect. I'm your host, Matt, and today we're going to be talking about inflation. Now, in this video, I'm going to be talking about inflation, hyperinflation, the debt, and gold. Now, first thing I want to talk about is the inflation and how's it measured. Okay, first I'm going to give you the definition of inflation. It is a measurement of the pace of rising of goods and services. Now, inflation can be caused from several different things, such as the increase production and cost of such raw materials, as well as wages. Now, a perfect example of that is if you own a hot dog shop and the hot dogs that you normally get go up by $2 or $3, you have to charge a little bit more for the hot dogs. That is inflation. Or you have to pay your employees a little bit more in order to keep them. You have to raise the price of the hot dog. That's inflation. Now, that's perfectly natural. It won't cause economy to fall from the bottom or anything. That's just an individual restaurant. Now, when inflation like that happens, most time customers understand and they're willing to pay more for that product, especially if it's a good product. Now, the kind of inflation you don't want to happen is nationwide inflation. Economists believe inflation comes about when the supply of money is greater than the demand of money, which means they have printed too much money, so your dollar is actually worth less. It takes more to actually pay for stuff, is what it's saying. Now, what can cause that to happen? Printing of money, going further and further into debt without paying off any debt can cause inflation. Now, most time when that happens, we go into what the economists call a recession. Now, a recession really is, it's where the economy is straightening itself out, fixing itself from what the government did by either printing too much money or going too far into debt. Another thing that can also affect inflation is GDP. Now, GDP is where you have growth in a country, the amount of money the populace is spending. Now, if you are printing more than what the populace is spending, thus you could create an economic collapse or recession. Now, there's signs of that happening when it comes to the price of gold. More and more people believe that economic collapse is going to happen or recession is going to happen. They put their money in gold. And the reason is because it's a stable financial area to put it in. When the economy is normally going to go into recession, it normally goes around 2,000 or more. How much gold is worth? I have a video here I'd like you to see, and you can see how much gold is worth right now.
Snapped an 8-day winning streak yesterday, but still settled at the second highest value for the year. Today, gold prices are pulling back from the big run-up that we've seen over the last year. They are up the price about 8% year to date. My next guest says investors should be diversifying into gold. Joining us right now is High Ridge Futures Director of Metals Trading, Dave Meager. Dave, good to see you this morning. So you think that you want to have some of your portfolio positioned toward gold. How much?
You know what? It's different for every investor. We generally recommend in the 10% range, but once again, that really depends on your outlook for the market and where you're at in your lifestyle. So really, it's that diversification overall that we look for a general investor.
And the idea is to, when things go south, when there's a lot of uncertainty out there, you want to have something that's tangible, something that you can hold, and that's an actual tangible instrument like gold, which is why I don't even look at gold as an investment. I look at it as a hedge against negative times.
A store of wealth, if you will, Maria. And you know what? We've been talking for a while about our pillars of support for gold, of why a general investor would be looking at gold as a hedge against other asset classes. And really those are, for example, gold we view as a quintessential hedge against this world of global central bank liquidity. If you're leaving your money sitting in cash, obviously you're gaining nothing on that investment.
Now, I found this right here where the debt is a little over $27 trillion. By now, it's probably pretty close to 28. As you can see, each person, $84,000, that's how much each person owes in the United States. Now, the last time that we were under $1 trillion when it comes to national debt, Reagan just became president. Now, what's happening over the last 40 years is continuous conflicts in the Middle East and also just kept on printing money, as well as having the welfare state. Like the last time a president actually paid on the debt was Calvin Coolidge, which was almost 100 years ago. and no one has paid on that debt since then. Now, I've been seeing stories a lot about America and hyperinflation. Now, I want to go over the term hyperinflation and what it means. It is a term that describes rapid and out of control general pricing and increase in an economy. Now I'm going to go over what causes hyperinflation. Now there's two things that causes hyperinflation. An increase in money supply and demand to pull inflation. And the other one is when a country's government begins printing money to pay for the spending to increase the money supply. Now another thing I haven't mentioned about hyperinflation is when hyperinflation happens, the price of goods increase 50% every month. Now, there's times it actually increases more than that every day even. Perfect example of that is in Zimbabwe. On March 2007 till mid-November 2008, their daily inflation rate was 98%. So their prices doubled every 24.7 hours. That's crazy. That means if you had a loaf of bread that was $2, it's $4 the next day. Now we have a Senator, Rand Paul, who is actually concerned with the United States borrowing and spending, and he says we might be on our way to being like Venezuela, where their $1 million Brazilian note is only worth 53 cents. And another thing the economists seem to be worried about is 40% of the US dollar that's in circulation right now was printed in the last 12 months. There's a lot of people that believe that hyperinflation cannot happen in the United States. Well, it happened before. It's called the Great Depression. My grandfather lived there and then, and he remembers when an apple was about 5 cents at a supermarket, and then a month later, it went up to almost $1. So it can happen here. But there is some things that has changed since then. Back then, our currency was backed up by the gold standard. Now, things are different now. Our money is backed by pretty much by the petrodollar. Now, that's the reason we haven't allowed like OPEC, Russia, China, any place or country that is going after oil or natural gas to use a different currency other than a dollar. It actually keeps us from going into hyperinflation. Now, that situation will only last so long. It'll be a matter of time before other countries start to realize, hey, the dollar's not worth what it used to be. Let's use something else for a barrel of oil or gas. So if that does happen, we will go into a depression. Now, my opinion, I don't see that happening. We're not going to allow it to happen. More likely, we're going into recession, and recessions normally fix the issues that's happening, that's causing it. As long as we stop doing quantitative easing, as long as you stop doing that and printing money in order to throw it at the stock market to try to keep it afloat, as well as stop throwing money at banks and big businesses to try to keep everything afloat, then the economy will fix itself, and it should keep us from going into hyperinflation. But if you don't, and you keep doing what you're doing, it's a matter of time before hyperinflation hits and we go into a Great Depression again. Now, I want to reiterate, this is only my opinion. I'm not an economist. I only know what I've read, and I've read a lot about it. I'm not a politician either, so I don't know as much as they do when it comes to everything that's going on with the national debt and with the Fed and what they're doing. Take it with a grain of salt. This is only my opinion and what I'm seeing. Now, with that said, I'm done with my rant for today. Hope you enjoyed. If you didn't, I don't know what to tell you. Please come back and please hit subscribe and like. Helps the channel grow. Peace.